Hello, pocket knife community, knife lovers, knife enthusiasts, interested viewers. Bam! Working on a logo before I have something professionally made. Figured I would just start, I don't know, just seeing how I feel about it. My iconography for my channel had something similar, but I changed the knife to my copper PM2. So I'll see how I like it before I have something, I don't know, some refrigerator magnets made or something. Anyway, yeah, so, I just want to do a quick video on the Spyderco Manix 2 XL and a quick video on the differences between the XL and the regular Manix 2. A lot of knives, when they do a larger version, are simply, you know, the same knife in a larger version, you know. But that's not what they did with Spyderco. The Manix 2 is a Eric Glasser design. A lot of the other designs were a collaboration between Sal and Eric. This is specifically Eric. And they, you know, when they decided to make, I'm not actually sure, I should have researched this before I did the video, of which came first, right? Was it the Manix 2 or the XL? If you know, you can put it in the comments. I'm not bashful. I could look it up, but, you know, you guys let me know. Let me know what you know. How about that? But anyway, they are different in their designs. So this is my Manix 2 XL. It is the only one I own. This was a club knife. It came from a club. This was number 161 of the club. I bought this. This is one of the first knives I bought. This knife was from 2013, I believe it was. It basically was a brand new knife when I bought it. Unopened, in a box, open just for the pictures, brand new. It's not even broken in, this knife. And it's in carbon fiber. It's also in S90V steel. And it's a serious knife. And it's also huge. Yeah, man. The XL is definitely a lot bigger than the Manix 2. So if you own a Manix 2 and you're thinking about getting an XL, make no mistake about it, you're getting a much bigger knife. The XL is 8.9 inches. This thing is tremendous. So yeah, 8.9 inch overall length. Yeah. And that makes it a whole inch bigger than the regular Manix 2. All right, regular Manix 2 is a basic 8-inch knife, 8.03 inches. Okay, so that makes it considerably bigger, a whole inch overall. The XL closed length is 5.9, whereas the Manix 2 closed length is 4.6. Right? Ironically, the blade thicknesses are the same, 125 thousandths blade stock thickness. So that's actually sort of like a plus for the Manix, right? I'm a little smaller, but I'm still diesel. My blade is still thick. Right? Yeah. So, yep. They have a full fat grind, and they both use the cage ball bearing lock, or the ball bearing lock. I think Spyderco called it the ball bearing lock, but I've heard it being called the cage ball bearing lock because the bearing is inside of the cage. But that's not what this video is about. This video is just about to highlight the differences between these two knives, because ironically, they're designed differently. Very interesting. They just didn't stretch one. They didn't just stretch this out or just shrink this one. They actually did a few changes in the design. And one of the changes in the design actually highlights my criticism of the Manix 2. So let's just get into it. one of the main criticisms I have about the Manix 2 is that I've always said it needs another screw back here. Applied Weapons Technology with that aluminum scales has addressed that. They actually put a screw here. What they did was they put a spacer inside here, and they put a screw in between the lanyard hole and the mounting point on the where the pocket clip is. So it would be right here in the middle. And that screw goes to stabilize the whole construction of the knife. I did have a Manix 2 that had problems. I don't have any that have problems now, but I did have one that had problems where, you know, the screws were having some issues, and the knife, if you used it a little bit, they would come loose. You could put Loctite on them, and, you know, they just kind of, it just wasn't working. So that would have done well to have something down here. You would think that would be the case, but the Manix 2 has a 3-screw body in the body design, and they're all up front. Okay, literally you got the pivot and 2 bolting the anvil into the in between the liner. These 2 right here go right through this. So if you know about the Manix 2, this is a better representation because it just shows the flow-through design without the backspacer. But this anvil is held together with these 2 screws, and the cage ball bearing lock sits underneath it. And it's basically the structural mechanism for the lock. Okay, so that's what these 2 screws do, and they also serve to hold the body. They didn't do that with the XL. If you notice, the XL has 1 pivot screw and there's no screw up here. What they did was they took the screw and put it back here. Thus a longer body, thus I guess they felt they needed more support in the back. But I think that the support's necessary back here also. Just what I'm saying. So your question might be, okay, so if they didn't have a screw up here, then how do they support the anvil? If that's the question you ask watching this, then you're doing your homework, right? Because yeah, it's a good question, right? All of a sudden they need this screw up here, but on this they don't. And the reason why they don't is because they put a pin inside here. So inside the liners, there's a pin that goes across that locks inside the liners, and the pin goes right through the anvil and holds it in place. So there's no need to have an external screw. Works perfectly. They should have did the same thing with the Manix 2. Same thing. That pin is excellent. Instead of putting another screw there, something that you have to screw down and, you know, whatever. So yeah, it works for the Manix 2. So that's one difference between the Manix 2 and the Manix 2 XL. The other difference is the elephant in the room. The extension on the back, which makes this a longer knife, besides the blade being obviously longer. The blade lengths. What are the official blade lengths? Blade length for the Manix 2 official, as per Spyderco, is 3.3 inches. The XL is 3.85 inches. So ½ inch. So what they did was this knife's overall is an inch longer than this one. So they got a ½ inch on the front end and a ½ inch on the back end. But as you see, the mounting point for the pocket clip is in a completely different position. On the Manix 2, the mounting is behind the lanyard hole. On the XL, the mounting is in front of the lanyard hole. And then they offer this huge hook at the end. So when you look at the knife from the opposite side, you can see exactly where the pocket clip is mounted. On the Manix 2, it's here, right at the end of the knife, the very end. On the XL, it's here. So you gotta be asking the right questions, guys. You gotta be. The question you should be asking is, wow, look where they mounted that. So let me get a terry cloth here so we can see how much of this stuff is going to be sticking out of your pocket, because that's crazy, right? Yeah, these are the flaws of this knife. As amazing as this knife is, you know, come on. There are some inherent flaws in both of them. Woo, man. That's a lot of knife sticking out of there, man. That's a lot. I mean, I guess even a deep pocket might have to go up here on the side, and then it could, you know, yeah. Interesting, man. That's, yeah. And then obviously the regular Manix too, which just have that amount sticking out of the pocket. So that's a big difference. That's a big difference. So yeah, they chose to design a knife like that. I'm pointing out some inherent flaws of the Manix too. I'm just highlighting them. Having said all that, this is an incredible knife. You know, it really is an amazing knife. You know, it does have a lot of good attributes about it. The cage ball bearing lock is incredible. And it's one of my absolute favorite knives, even though I'm talking about it, because it does have the issues that I'm pointing out. But yeah, I think that's about it. I think that's, are these anvils the same length? Yeah, they are. That's interesting too. The anvils are exactly the same length. I think they're the same exact dimensions, except for the length of the blade and the handle extending back here. Otherwise, they're identical. Even the thickness of the blades are identical, everything. So they could have made these identical and just stretched one. They could have take the screw design. What they should have did was take the screw design. I just thought of this, right? They should have took the screw design from the XL and applied it to the regular Manix too. So it would have the pin with the screw configuration like this, right? That's what they should have did. Then they should have took the open flow design in the Manix and applied it to the XL. And instead of having this big curve coming down here with all this ass hanging on the bottom here, right? They tried to make it wrap around. Guess what? You don't have to do that. Just a nice release like this, open release, and put the mounting point, right? Put the mounting point for the pocket clip here, just like on this one. So the screws from this should have went on here, and the mounting from this should have went on there. And then you would have a perfect knife. All right, Eric? So if you guys are going to revisit the Manix 2 one day and decide to update it and redesign it based on its inherent flaws and make it the perfect knife that it should be, that's what you guys can do. That would fix it. Just take this knife and make it this size. So just stretch it out a little bit more. Forget about this big hook on the bottom that you don't need to bring all this past here. And then use this screw configuration with the pin. All right. I need to be in the design business, right? All right. That's all we got. That's the Spyderco Manix 2 XL and the Spyderco Manix 2 by Eric Lesser. And yeah. So, all right. Thanks for watching.